I am Harper, 34 years old, and I never anticipated that my comfortable suburban existence would deteriorate in such a manner. You know those idealized family photographs that individuals share on Instagram? That was my life with Nate, my high school love, epitomizing marital aspirations. We had established a routine in a cozy four-bedroom house situated in a tranquil neighborhood, Friday night takeout from our favorite diner, and matching Christmas sweaters with our son, Ethan. Predictable, certainly, but it worked, at least until Adrian returned to town. I should clarify that Adrian is my ex from college. We were together for nearly 3 years before our relationship disintegrated. He aspired to travel the world, build an empire, and pursue success, while I sought stability, a home, and a sense of safety. Consequently, we parted ways. When his friend request appeared on my social media, I accepted it without hesitation. After all, we were adults now. Adrian was unlike most exes. There was no bitterness or awkwardness. He even attempted to befriend me. Nate inquired about him during our discussions, remarked on our family photographs, and extended invitations for weekend basketball games. Initially, Nate engaged positively, but I began to observe his discomfort when Adrian Essie's name was mentioned. He subtly suggested, "Don't you find it peculiar how frequently he is present?" and proposed that we might need to establish some boundaries. I regarded it as insecurity. Nate was merely being kind. Not everything is a competition. Admittedly, I scrutinized Adrian's profile excessively and found myself comparing them. Adrian frequently shared updates about his career, travels, and networking events, whereas Nate expressed enthusiasm for grilling new recipes and discussing his fantasy football lineup. In my mind, I reassured myself that Nate was stable and reliable and that he was not going anywhere. However, circumstances began to change when Adrian joined our local community group, leading to frequent encounters at the coffee shop, gym, and grocery store, seemingly innocuous coincidences, or so I convinced myself. Nate, however, became noticeably subdued whenever I mentioned Adrian, barely reacting to our chance meetings. I, on the other hand, began to put in a bit more effort into my appearance whenever I anticipated seeing Adrian, applying a touch of lipstick and making slight enhancements, nothing inappropriate, or so I justified. The real complications arose when Adrian announced his need for a +1 for a charity gala. I made a benign comment expressing admiration and a desire to assist. Subsequently, Nate confronted me regarding boundaries, respect, and emotional infidelity. He inquired, in a subdued tone and with an expression I found difficult to identify, how I would react if I behaved similarly with my former partner. I scoffed, asserting that the situations were dissimilar. Nate, your former partner, is employed at a pet store and continues to message you regarding her cat's birthday. Adrian is indeed successful. The moment the words escaped my lips, I regretted them, yet the harm was irrevocable. Nate exited the room, shaking his head. From that moment, events began to deteriorate more rapidly than I could manage. Nate worked late, devoted more time to the gym, and ceased participating in our customary traditions. Adrian, on the other hand, was omnipresent, seemingly testing an invisible boundary, and I acquiesced. I began to be bolder, commenting on Adrian's posts and sharing nostalgic college photographs where we appeared well together, laughing excessively at his jokes. However, rather than inciting jealousy in Nate, this behavior only served to alienate him further. The ultimate rupture occurred at our neighborhood barbecue. Adrian arrived at Nate's invitation, and they behaved like longtime friends, consuming beer and discussing sports, which became intolerable. After several glasses of wine, someone made a jest about encountering an ex, prompting me to reflect on the maturity Adrian and I exhibit in our relationship. We are genuinely friends, correct? Adrian, the ensuing silence was oppressive. Nate gazed at his beverage. Adrian shifted uneasily, and then Nate spoke, his voice calm yet incisive. Yes, especially when you still harbor feelings for him. The wine glass nearly slipped from my grasp. Excuse me? I retorted. You heard me, he replied, his gaze fixed on mine. We all perceive it, the way you speak of him, the way you regard him. You are not discreet. Something within me snapped. If you wish to engage in this dialogue here, very well. Let us be candid. Adrian surpasses you in every respect. More successful, more ambitious, more self-assured. Even his residence is larger. Shall I continue? He stared at me for an extended moment before rising, taking Ethan's hand and departing. The gathering concluded swiftly thereafter, with murmurs circulating among the attendees about my best friend. Sarah shook her head, and even Adrian was uneasy. Later that night, I messaged Adrian to inquire if he wanted to grab something. Coffee requires an individual who comprehends that his reaction altered everything. I believe we must discuss boundaries late at night. Restaurant Adrian gazed at me with an expression I could not identify. Riley, cease. You are married and have a son. This evening's actions were unacceptable. He deserved better. He was not the one who warranted such treatment. Frankly, I cannot serve as your contingency plan. I permitted the situation to persist for an extended while, possibly due to my enjoyment of the attention. Nevertheless, following tonight, the disintegration occurred rapidly as Adrian distanced himself and disregarded my messages. Nate relocated following a tumultuous divorce. The judge, after reviewing my social media activity, sided with him, granting him primary custody of Ethan while I received only supervised weekend visitation. The Facebook memories that once depicted my idyllic life have now turned into incriminating evidence. Presently, I reside in a cramped apartment, perusing Nate's profile at night, observing his flourishing relationship with a personal trainer who prepares nutritious muffins for Ethan. Meanwhile, Adrian is involved with a lawyer and scarcely recognizes me at school functions. Sarah ultimately revealed to me the truth. You forfeited everything due to your inability to relinquish the past. And for what? Adrian does not desire you either. I reassure myself that I did not lose Nate because of my affection for Adrian. Rather, I lost both because they could not tolerate my candor. At least, that is the narrative I construct as I sit alone at night, gazing at their joyful lives through a screen, contemplating whether I might have been the issue all along, though I shall never vocalize that admission.